going to play two games, and they're both games of chance or probability. Now, the first game, whatever you do, the next game won't be affected by the previous game. And the second game, the results of the outcomes of the previous rounds will affect the next round. So it's pretty much the same game, but the contents are different. That is to address particularly here the Australian grade 3, grade 4 outcome. So game is simple. When you roll a die, or you may say dice, the next player is going to guess the number he or she rolls will be lower or higher. So let's quickly play this game so you'll understand. You need some counters to keep the points. So this is how it plays. So I start, one player starts 3. So the second player will guess if the next roll is going to be higher or lower. So my player will say, highly likely, higher. And if it's the same, you cannot take any. My turn, my roll is going to be higher. Low. This person will say higher. If it's higher, you can take one counter. Got the game? So you can, so that's a 4. So the outcomes of a rolling a die is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or 6. So clearly I should say lower, and I'm not lucky. And this person, my opponent, might say lower, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So let's see, it's higher. I can clearly say its next roll is going to be lower than 6. Then I can take a point. Got the game? So let's quickly pause the video. What is the tip? Can you give me a tip of how to win this game? If my opponent's number is 5, I have a chance of, my outcomes of rolling a number with a die is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I've got more lower numbers, so I would say lower to get a point. So if my opponent's number is lower, I'll use a high number to win. That's a simple game, right? Now, when you use cards, that is going to be slightly different. So I'll quickly show you what's here. My opponent has red cards from ace. I'm going to use this as a number 1 up to 10. So I shuffle. I have all the numbers from ace to 10 again. And I'm going to shuffle. Same game, you are going to guess your card is going to be higher or lower. Okay, games very simple. You just have to guess your card, next card is higher or lower than your opponent's card. I'll start. 6. Oh, 6 is a tricky card. So my opponents, they have 10 cards here. The higher than 6 is 7, 8, 9, 10. 4 numbers, 4 cards are higher. And he or she has 1, 2, 3, 8, 2, 3, 4, 5. 5 cards lower than 6. So my opponent will likely say lower. It's very low, so she guessed it right. That means a counter. Ace, all the cards in here are higher than ace or 1, apart from 1 itself. So I'll say higher. So I take the card, a counter. Now all the cards in here are lower than 10, apart from 10 itself. So my opponent will guess it. Next card will be lower than 10. That's a counter. 8, I also have to say my next card is lower. Just. Maybe my opponent will say lower than 7. Tie, so no counter. I would have to say my next card will be lower than 7, because I used a lot of high cards already. I was wrong. And my opponent will say this card will be lower than 9. 5. Now this is a tricky one, because I have used a lot of cards higher than 5. 6, 7, 9, 10. I have only 8 in here left in the pile. But I still have ace, 2, 3, and a 4. So even 5 is sort of lower card. I would say my next card is lower than 5. There you go. And my opponent will say higher than 2. Oh, it's 4. 4. I have ace and a 3 still in the pile. And I have 5 and 8. Ooh, I would say this card is higher. Or should I say lower? Higher than 4. And it's a tie. I cannot take a counter. Now, got the game. As you use these cards, your decision will change, because you can see what cards you have already used. So, got the game. The 2 games, dice higher lower, or the cards higher lower.